Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well. And today, my friends, we're back with the Tzeentch vs. Lizardmen showdown. It's going to be myself with the Big Bird of Change, actually going to be a metal caster facing off against Hadries, who's going to be coming in with the dreaded Skink Caster Lord, and of course tic-tac-toe and reinforcements. But typically, you are going to start off with your mage on the battlefield. That's going to be the smart play. Now, as far as my build goes, a little bit different. Most Tzeentch players really like to just spam blue fire and pink fire, which are just very cost effective and typically don't require much synergy to make work. However, I do think that metal casters can be quite good in the Dino matchup, especially if you're going to be using Tzeentchian shooting. So let me go ahead and explain. Pink cores of Tzeentch, which are the standard shooting unit for Tzeentch, they don't really have, they have good weapon damage overall at 25, very nice compared to basic archer units. But they don't really have the best armor piercing. You can see of their 25 damage of it, only 5 of it is going to be armor piercing. So Plague of Rust here, minus 60 armor on a big dinosaur, on like a temple guard, putting a Saurus warrior to 0 armor, and then barraging them with pink fire can actually be really, really nasty for sure. Also, Searing Doom is pretty good. Lizardmen typically have slower infantry with their main core of their Saurus and temple guard, so being able to bombard them there is good. Warriors in the front, these are going to be Chaos Warriors of Tzeentch. These guys are awesome. They're middle linebackers. Very, very solid. You know, they trade well into Saurus, and they hold the line. They also have silver shields against the little skinks. And on the flank, we do have some halberds. I figured that I would be going for a very defensive style of play. Considering lizards are faster and more maneuverable than Tzeentch, I would just kind of move over here, get a halberd on objective 3, fight on objective 1, and live my best life. Now, for the forces of the great Hadries, Hadries going to be coming in with a million chameleon skinks. My brain just overwhelmed with the amount of chameleon skinks. Going to be 5 of those bad boys, backed up here by a Bastiladon with the Rev Crystal, Skink Cohort, Saurus Warriors, and some Temple Guard as well, which I like the inclusion of Temple Guard. I think that Tzeentch typically does bring some big heavy-duty infantry, so having Temple Guard to grind through the armor and also help you against spawn and some of the big monsters that Tzeentch can bring, not a bad idea to just kind of throw one in as like a weird tech piece. Now, Rev Crystals are just amazing. They just are so cost-effective, especially healing things like Temple Guard or other dinosaurs. And the Skink Priest of Heavens can be pretty good at clearing out armor as well. So this little adorable skink's going to be running in the tree line here, getting ready to pop up and drop some fat magic on my face. So we'll do a little bit of fast forwarding while the two armies posture. Here in the middle, we do get the cohorts moving in, and that's one thing about lizards. They have really high capture weight fast units. Cohorts do have 46 speed, and they can just get on point super quickly. So one of my Chaos Warriors costs 850 with a shield, and he can almost get 3 Skink Cohorts without the Javelins for the price of 1 Chaos Warrior. That's 15 capture weight against 5, and the Warriors can't kill them like super quickly, right? So lizards are really, really good at swinging objectives here. Now, this is the Crater of Decay. It's a really cool map, so obviously I can't really push out against the Skink Cohorts terribly efficiently, so he's going to get the Vanguard capture point, which means if he captures this, he gets to have Vanguard deployment behind my army, so it really, really puts me on the defense. Granted, I can spawn units in and defend, adequately, I would say, but it's a huge advantage for him for sure. And, that's the nature of his build. His build is really, really focused on getting this, and the fact that I'm screening with halberds here, not great against the chameleon skinks. Yeah, they don't have good armor piercing, but even still, they're able to do some really, really substantial damage here against my poor Chaos Warriors, so they are going to be getting their bread buttered, and will need to pull back in just a second. So they're fleeing the scene. I'm going to be pulling up my pinks here, also pulling in some shielded Chaos Warriors to get in front of them, and I'm going to try and mitigate some of the damage. And now we do get some return fire, so that felt pretty good. Chameleon skinks themselves do have 40% missile resist because they're, camouflage and sneaky and stuff, but volume of fire can certainly weigh them down. Now, we do have the top objective. We also have the back objective, so the plan is very clear here. And you can see Hadries pulls a little bit of a switch. He essentially gets his entire army, maneuvers away from objective 1, and just uses his superior speed and mobility to pressure my objective 3, which is kind of really simplifying the situation. Really nice combat of Cassandora there, but thankfully the Chaos Warriors of Tzeentch do have shields, so by the time they, get in combat again, they'll probably be healed mostly to full. So that really shows the power of Tzeentchian shields in mitigating magic damage, and it looks like that's going to be a Urandan Thunderbolt going down right here, which is pretty good. Nice little damage. You'll see it'll pick off some of those Chaos Warriors, and their shields are, of course, still in effect. Not their Protoss shields, but their basic silver shields, so they will be blocking some of that damage. Now, damage value is pretty close. Obviously, he's got a little bit more on the battlefield because he's been summoning in more small units, whereas I'm saving up for bigger things. I do get some Screamers in position in order to counter the Bastiladons and keep them from running through my armies. Granted, with the width and kind of the chameleons that he has, maybe the Screamers weren't necessarily the best choice, but even still, we have a 2-to-1 cap, which is all I want. I'm going to try and just value trade on these objectives, force them into my defensive, ping fire shooting, and live our best life there. On the side, though, the dreaded Croxagore is coming in. The Spankin' Paddles. I did have my halberds and spawn ready to intercept them, so that's going to be forcing those guys to reroute. I also had some Marauder Spears in the back to really buffer that off and make sure we're good. And here you can see Plague of Rust is going down. So these Temple Guard are going to be taking a lot of damage from the ping fire. You can see big HP losses. Also, Tzeentch Warriors don't have good armor piercing themselves, so them beating on low armor Temple Guard that only have 19 armor right now because of Plague of Rust plus the I think there was another effect that was lowering their armor, but that's so cost effective. Taking down one of those elite units certainly felt good. But on that same note, my halberds here are getting karate chopped. I was like, whatever, man, send them into combat. Let's at least hold up some of the Saurus. And those chameleons, man, really, really problematic. Granted, they're at half ammo, and you'll notice that the lizard army is going to be slowing down in momentum. And there's a big Searing Doom there coming in from the big Exalted Chicken. And look at the damage it does, right? Like, Plague of Rust plus Searing Doom, I think, is a pretty viable combo here. Now, this is what I was talking about with capture weight. Value's very even. I managed to kind of trade my way back up. But here you can see the dinos are going to be swarming out with a bunch of cohorts very quick, and my response is much slower. I have 35 speed, these guys have 46. These Chaos Warriors obviously would defeat these Saurus, but with all the cohorts kind of swarming and getting their little shanks on these guys, it's going to be a little bit tough for sure. So try my best to hold on to this point. Going to be dropping a portal glyph down, which is a Chaos Fury summon. The Chaos Fury is going to be bouncing out, going after the Chameleon Skinks here. In the meantime, these Marauders of Tzeentch with the spears holding the point valiantly, while another Searing Doom is going to come down. And the middle of the Changer certainly doing some big damage as those warriors do get kind of roasted, but the pressure of the Chameleon Skinks is adding up. You can see them kind of forced back in a really defensive posture. These Chaos Furies should be taken out pretty quickly by the Kroxigors with their bonus first infantry, considering that Chaos Furies are infantry sized. And on top of that, the two Bastiladons with the Rev Crystals are putting constant healing. So even though I am equal in trading, you'll notice that Hadri's army value in the battlefield is 10.5 to my 8.4. So his army is actually bigger and stronger at this point because of the healing that he's been getting on the Bastiladons, on his elite units. And now I'm being kind of forced off the objective. My Chaos Warriors totally running out of steam. And we do have some Saurus Warriors kind of chasing back my pinks, so now it's time to kind of reroute my army. So you'll notice I'm giving movement orders to all these units in different directions, so I can get a little bit of concave firing, and also going to be using a Searing Doom to try and thwart their chase a little bit and do some decent damage. And 92 models down to, that did about 1,000 damage right there. Not bad, about 800-900 actually in retrospect. And now the pinks are going to be turning about, and they do get some good firepower. Also, the spawn of Tzeentch, which I've been protecting to reasonable extent here, are going to be able to kind of clear off these Saurus. Now, up on the high ground objective, even though we got some bodies there, they're not necessarily winning the fight. And my Chaos Warriors did eventually get swarmed by the Saurus and being rear charged by the cohorts. And my Marauders will do okay, but they will eventually lose to the Saurus Warriors up here. So you're really seeing the power of the Lizardmen infantry as they continue to trade very effectively. Exalted Lord of Change going to be coming, dropping some Searing Doom, trying to help that fight out. In the meantime, we're having to fall back off the objective, but you'll notice there's going to be a big kind of power lapse in the Lizards when they do run out of the ammunition on their Chameleon Skinks, and we're able to kind of maintain firepower with our pinks, which have been kind of holding back their ammo because they've been on the run. Not intentional, of course, but they've been doing okay. So I did summon out some Chaos Knights of Tzeentch. I actually like them as like a one-off. I feel like they're a really good sweeper of like low-tier infantry units like Saurus and Skinks. And big pink fire shooting is going to be saturating in, able to pop those chameleons in the face, doing some okay damage. Granted, probably should have been focusing Kroxigors. Granted, Tzeentch does have good answers against Kroxigors. Here you can see Screamers are going to be moving in. Screamers are a very hard counter against them. Anti-large, armor piercing, Rev Crystal damage going down. So we pull back the Chaos Knights, we cycle charge, and here comes another big charge for the Changer, baby. I wish I'd had a Plague of Rust for that. Did I Plague of Rust them? I did, yeah. So their armor's really low, and look how hard these guys are getting buckled. 34 armor, negative 16 leadership, big Tzeentch shock damage there. Whereas in the backfield, we do have some Marauder Horsemen coming in to clear it up, but the high ground has been a complete disaster here. Marauders losing to Saurus, Marauders losing to Saurus, and Skinks, just a sheer numbers game. And looking at the army value on the battlefield, we are kind of equalizing it a little bit. It's 9.4 to 8.5, so we have closed the gap. Another Searing Doom in the back, going to be going down on those very, very elite Temple Guard who've been getting a ton of healing this game, and trying our best to win this flank engagement, as we do see some Ripperdactyls coming in. But Tzeentch does have good answers against Rippers. You have the Furies, which do good against them, although I think that Screamers are probably the ideal answer because Ripperdactyls do have a bonus versus infantry, so they kill Furies very, very quickly, actually. On the side, Pink Horrors of Tzeentch shooting in. Going to be redirecting my firepower up here to the Ripperdactyls, and the Chaos Knights are just still kind of embroiled in combat. Couldn't really kind of get them out. They're really, really bogged up here, and we do have Halberds and Warriors that I should have been unsummoning a little bit more effectively. My unsummoning wasn't super on point this game, but army value within 1,200 points as the Marauder Horsemen going to be moving up here and trying to break these very low infantry. I actually made the mistake this game of thinking that these Saurus Warriors were Skinks, so I decided to just kind of take the charge here. I was like, we'll clear them off nice and quick. But these Saurus Warriors are going to be able to give the business to them, and there's not going to be a whole lot I can do. But Chaos Warriors, Chaos Knights here, not doing a ton of gold value, but I feel like as far as like a pressure piece goes, they're doing very, very good. I love Chaos Knights. I mean, they're one of the coolest units on the roster, hands down. Just these big, apocalyptic, just thundering knights, right? So they are able to charge through those Skinks right there. Going to be moving into the other unit. Wish I could have got them when they had their ammunition. Not going to feel quite as good now. In the meantime, pink fire shooting doing really, really good. We have 1,000 value on the Exalted, 600 on these guys, and 989, 990 on these pinks right here. So all three of those guys are doing very good. We do also have the Exalted Lord of Change jumping in and doing battle with the Bastiladon. And now, guys, you can see the value is getting closer and closer within about 700 or 800 right now. as we continue to wear these guys down. In the back, we do have a cheeky little back cap as some very tattered Chaos Warriors were able to jump up on that point. And I've kind of given up on this one. Even though like he's very beat up here, I didn't really have anything in the pool because I didn't unsummon my Chaos Warrior. So I wasn't able to get that momentum back. I kind of kept sending them back in a very tattered state out of desperation to get a point back since I was triple capped. But, you know, man, hasn't been easy. So Flamers of Tzeentch coming in, another very good anti-infantry tool if they're not being shut down by mobility. Saurus Spears, going to be hustling, trying to push in, but we should be able to get some good old RTS concave fire, so I do get my Chaos Furies from the Portal Glyph. We're going to be rear charging them to kind of mess up their aggro, and big Tzeentchian fire getting in there as those Saurus do get melted. They do get into the pinks, but the Exalted Pinks will be able to fight them pretty adequately. As a matter of fact, they're up to 1300 value right now, and those Saurus just kind of wither under the pressure. And the Lizard are in a bit of a full retreat. And look at this. All three objectives are being contested a little bit by these Tzeentchian forces. Could this be the dreaded comeback? Something that isn't really being taken into account too much is also the shield healing value. So Tzeentchian armies do get pretty good healing via their shields. Flamers of Tzeentch here, able to kind of cook some of the Saurus warriors. And, you know, I was expecting more mobility from him, like Clever Girls and Colton Spear Riders. I wasn't really prepared for the sheer massive infantry he brought in. In retrospect, maybe the Flamers of Tzeentch would have been good in, you know, more numbers, right? So this point is taken back. Granted, my pinks are very, very low ammo. Up on the high ground, it looks like we do get some Marauder Horsemen and Chaos Warriors fighting for that point. Also some Screamers and very tattered Spearmen on their way in. And the Lizards are kind of on the retreat, ladies and gentlemen, as we do have the Temple Guard pulling back, a couple Skink cohorts, Bastillodons on the retreat. But again, you also have to take into account the healing he has, which is kind of being reflected here. So despite the damage value being in my favor, I've done more damage this game. His army is still about 900 bigger than mine because of the healing on the Bastillodon Rev Crystals, which is pretty rad. And definitely, Lizardmen are one of the best healing factions in the game. And what's really cool about them is you can bring all sorts of badass magic, like heavens, like fire, whatever. And you can get all of your healing from the Rev Crystals. You don't necessarily have to bring a Life Caster like you would with other factions. So he still has that Vanguard point, able to allow him to get some Saurus over here, unsummoning units, doing a little bit of housekeeping right now. I do send some spawn up here and get the Exalted Lord of Change. So it looks like we're going to be able to get in there and get this objective as we do overwhelm the Ripperdactyls here. And we do, you know, have that value lead, but the healing is pretty big, right? So more Rippers coming in, a huge Unholy Legion of Saurus Warriors. I have a couple units back here, a little bit of poor housekeeping. If you guys are newer to Domination mode and you have units on the back of the map kind of sitting and chilling, it's a big mistake. You need to unsummon those guys to get them healing and back in your pool so you can have steady reinforcements. What was happening to me at this point in the game, granted, I don't think it would make a colossal difference in the current state of the game, but it would have made a slight difference, is that I kind of ran out of infantry to summon in. Most of them were active on the battlefield or were very, very beat up, right? So Saurus Warriors cutting through the pinks here. My other pink's going to be run through by the Bastillodon. We do have the Flamers trying to shoot them a little bit, but not going to do that much damage. We'll go ahead and keep tabs. So 700 down to, what's the damage going to be? Yeah, a couple hundred damage as they struggle to get those shots in. Going to be switching them over to the Saurus Warriors, which is what you want to be doing. And the Rev Crystal also drops a heal on itself. Not on itself, but the Rev Crystal dropped it on the Saurus Warriors, is what I meant to say. More Screamers coming in. Screamers will be very good against the Bastillodon with their anti-large. And the big Lord of Change going to be trying to secure the objective. The problem is right now is I need 3 objectives to win. So even though I got the double cap on him, and I should be able to hold it for a moment, or at least a period of time, who knows? I'm going to need that triple cap, and that triple cap is not going to be made easy here by the great Hadrius, one of the top players on the leaderboard, of course. So Spawn of Tzeentch moving in, and they are getting a bull rush on Saurus Warriors. And Screamer's going to be getting a rear charge, which should actually kill them rather quickly. With the armor sundering, they're down to 30 armor. Spawn of Tzeentch are really good. I mean, but Lizards do have good answers against them via the Chameleon Skinks, but in general, the Spawn of Tzeentch, I think, are just a really, really powerful unit. Spears, Chaos Warriors, all that sort of good stuff moving up, holding on to this objective here, and now going for a little bit of a desperate cap. Those Haggard Chaos Warriors in the back going to be moving to the point. I will notice the Chaos Knights here in a second, and the Exalted Pinks going to be moving to that point. I know it's desperation, but I kind of have to win all these points, but the Vanguard from Hadrius has been so good. He's just been getting these beautiful Vanguard summons all over my army, and I haven't been able to shut that down, which would have helped me probably hold that point earlier, but with the Chameleon Skink control that he had, it just simply wasn't enough. And this objective is also probably going to be lost as the cohorts are moving in. And even though I have good fighting power here, you can see the decent staying power of these Chaos Warriors. But at the end of the day, it seems like I'm just not going to be able to hold on to this point. So Spears on their way up. Desperation. Back objective is captured here. That's pretty much going to be GG well played. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. It was a really, really good game. Both Hadrius and I were in Discord and we were saying, hey, let's play factions that neither of us really play a lot. And it kind of was interesting to see some of the cool stuff from the Metalcaster. He got to experiment with a very wide Tzeentchian army. Tic-Tac-Toe did come in at the end. He's so minuscule and kind of hard to notice, but he was able to get some decent trading against my big boy. Look at that 200 value, baby. That's what I'm talking about. But what did we learn today? Pinks are pretty good here. 1,400, 1,100. 900 Chaos Warriors, even though in theory they're good against Saurus, it seems they get killed by Rippers. They get, grinded down by the Lizard Infantry despite being, on paper good against them. So what I would probably change is you could keep the Metal Caster. I think he's fine, or you could go with Tzeentch. I think they're both ideal casters in this matchup. They both work well. I would probably cut these Warriors and get a million Marauders instead. Just go cheaper and get more pinks. I feel like they were really good. The reinforcements are okay. The Chaos Knights I would probably still keep as a sweeper unit. Maybe replace some Marauder Spears with basic Marauders. I don't think the Spears are that needed, considering you can just use Screamers. So, yeah, it was a great game. GG, well played. Probably honestly cut the Marauder Horsemen. I don't think they're that good against anything, although having a fast Horseman unit to get to the point quickly I think is necessary, so it's hard to say. And I loved his build as well. Cool Ripperdactyl play. Very neat stuff. Bastiladons, Temple Guard, Chameleon Skinks, what's not to love. GG, well played. See you guys next time, and that's going to be it for today.